bringing it back to your podcast, and not only do you talk about games on your podcast, you're actually pretty open about your mental health state on the show. You're not afraid to share what's going on with there. And I want to ask both of you, as we wrap up this section of the podcast, how do you hope to inspire your audience who might be fighting the same mental battles as you are?
Want to start this one, Andrew?
Sure. So, I think it's funny because Zach and I both talk about having kind of strayed out of the theater career path that we initially pursued. And I think with the changing of a career path, there is a natural, where am I going? What is happening? Feeling that starts to set in. And I think both of us started to kind of go through that together and like support each other through it. And I think part of that, like that became a pillar of our friendship, was that we were helping each other through the mental health. So that was naturally going to work its way into a podcast where we're just palling around kind of thing. But for me, in terms of like deciding whether or not to share these sort of things with people, whenever I'm putting entertainment out there, be it a show that I'm performing in, be it a podcast that I'm making, be it music that I'm writing, whatever, I think about the audience, and I think about wanting to make an impact on the audience in some way or another, or like, why am I doing this? You know, because while art is a selfish thing in a lot of ways, I'm not interested in making art that is just for me.
Yeah.
I also want other people to get something out of it. I go back to my choir conductor in college told us this story because I think it was like, we used to go on international tour every year, and I want to say that we were it was one of the tours. It might have been France. It might have been Brazil. I can't remember, but it was one of my earlier tours. And we had a night where just like the past couple concerts, not many people had really shown up to, and they were kind of smaller houses. And you could see general morale of the choir was kind of like, why are we like performing for so few people? Like, this is, He told us this story about, they actually were doing a show up in, I believe, in Buffalo. And they had a church scheduled because they were doing basically a domestic tour up in the northeast of the United States. So they had this show scheduled. They are pulling in, and a blizzard hits, kind of thing. Like, they are headed up there in
like Buffalo.
So they're there. I mean, they've gone up there on a bus. So they're there, but other people are really not traveling because it's a pretty bad blizzard kind of thing. So they ended up having that concert for, I think, 4 people, he said, in the church that night. It was like very few people made it out, but they did the concert for those 4 people. And the choir was, you know, backstage during the intermission and blah, 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 like grumbling about, you know, well, this feels dumb. Why are we doing this? He then told us that a week later, after they had gotten back to the college from the tour, he received an email, and it was from one of those 4 people. And that person had said that they were strongly contemplating committing suicide that night. And that the music had uplifted them so much that they talked themselves out of it. And I just think you can never underestimate the impact that you could have even on just one person. And that means it's worth putting it out there.
No, right on. I totally agree with that, man.
That's a very fundamental thing that I think we pursue when we're doing a show like this. The podcast itself was kind of conceived for me, like, not only as an outlet to talk about video games, but also kind of an outlet for my own depression. When we started the show back in May of 2018, I was a few months removed from a really nasty breakup that left me shaken for a really long time. And the podcast itself was, more than anything else, like an excuse to hang out with 2 of my best friends every single week. And through the worst of my own depression, like, it is very easy in that mental state to feel alone and unwanted, and like nobody else can relate to what you're going through right now. And I think the most important thing that somebody in that state could know is that you are not alone in handling this. You are not alone in your struggles. There are people that feel exactly how you feel right now, and that's a really comforting thing to know. Only 3 months ago, I believe, I started therapy. I've been on antidepressants, and I think that's a really important thing to share as we move forward as content creators and people that some people genuinely depend on. There's a couple of fans out there that like get really excited when we post a new episode. They totally understand when our schedule. We've been having a little difficulty putting out episodes this month because of scheduling issues, but they've always been so supportive about whatever we are doing. And I think part of that is because we share our personal struggles, our personal grievances against the fate of the world. Grievances is the wrong word. I don't know why I said that.
Very moving.
I think there's a responsibility when you're trying to build, a book club, a space for people to hang out and talk about games and love a medium that we've all bought into in a big way. And part of that is just saying, like, we struggle too, and that's okay. And I hope you're doing okay. Yeah. Because you know what? Today, I'm doing okay.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, also a medium where it's a lot of people who grew up feeling alone and are very familiar with this feeling of feeling alone. Like gamers largely, it's a part of nerd culture. And we know that nerd culture emerged from like a group of people that, maybe got bullied when they were younger and things like that. And that's not a great feeling. And so the sense of community can help you to deal with those moments when you're maybe a little more down and feeling like there's no one else there.
It's still very weird to me to see gaming become kind of one of the head pillars of popular culture. When I was bullied relentlessly as a kid for being super into Pokemon and super into Mario and just a huge Nintendo fanatic. And now these days, like, that's in vogue, baby. Yeah. Everyone wants to be the Mario.
Right on.
Weird feeling to know that what I was made fun of 20 years ago is now like the best thing to love today.
Yeah. No, these are excellent answers. And once again, if you're listening to this,
thank you. I thought about them.
Yeah. If anybody's listening to this episode, if you're new here and you're just finding out about Good Game, Great Game, definitely check out their podcast because they're very open about this. And you hear they're passionate about mental health and mental wellness in this. So definitely check out their podcast on that if you want to learn more.